Hey YouTubers, what's up? It's me, yours truly, back to post a quick response video to the Grecian Thunder's last thread. I think it was entitled Baby O Rituals. Just kind of 4 quick questions that he had that were some good questions, and I wanted to kind of jump in on it and see what you guys thought. This is what's playing in the background. Jimmy Reed, I Ain't From Chicago. It's kind of a cool blues record I picked up when I first started buying blues LPs, first started getting into that genre on Bluesway Records. So it's a really cool LP, so check it out if you haven't heard of him before. And getting on to the questions, there were 4 questions, and for those of you who've watched my videos in the past, you probably kind of know my answers to these for the most part, but they're fun questions, and I want to make sure I do a response to this particular thread. So the question number 1 is, how do you organize your records? I basically organize my records alphabetically within genres, and sometimes I kind of break out with subgenres too. And what I kind of mean by that is the first 3 rows of my collection here are basically all rock, you know, going from 50s and 60s all the way up through the 2000s. So the way I have it set up is my first section there is classic rock, then there's a psych and prog section, hard rock, metal, glam hair metal, punk hardcore, and then 60s, then going into 70s, 80s, and on down the line, all the way through 90s and 2000s. Now, within those, you know, there's some sections, like my 80s sections, for example, that's pretty big, so I've broken it down into smaller kind of compartments, if you will. So, for example, with my 80s, I have one section that's 80s A through L, and there's another section that's 80s N through Z, and then after that I have things like Ladies of the 80s, which is all the female artists, 80s alternative, 80s guitar rock. So I have those kind of different 80s sections within my 80s. And then the same thing going into the 90s. I have my 90s and 2000s. I have the ladies of the 90s and 2000s. Then I also have a grunge and hard alternative section. And then after that, the R&B starts with 60s and 70s R&B. And it kind of does the exact same thing. Ending up with some of the more random genres with like jazz, blues, reggae, dance, techno, gospel, on down the line. So everything I said there is put alphabetically within genre, and then you know that little stack I have on the side here, which I've shown you in my last tour video. All the artists in there are kept by artists and not by genre. And again, the reason I do that is because as this starts to fill up, if I'm putting new stuff in, by having a section somewhere that's just done by artists, that allows me to be able to just come in here and pull out 2 or 3 artists, take 15 or 20 records out of this stack and move them over to the artist section, and then that way I have more room to plug in more stuff over here. So I kind of do that intentionally because it gives me a little bit of a kind of freedom to expand without having to shift everything all the time and go through that huge hassle. So that's basically how I have my records organized, and of course I have all of that in my database and all that good stuff. Question number 2. Where do you keep them? Well, right here. As I kind of showed in my last room tour video, my new music room is kind of like a living room type area, so that's kind of where I have my collection now, which again is really nice to have the extra space and everything. I pretty much keep everything on shelves. There's one little section I have on the floor, which I actually kind of like, that having on the floor and being able to kind of flip through it. I mean, if I ever get a lot more space, that's definitely something that I'll do a little bit more of, because I've always thought that's kind of cool to have that floor set up to where you can just get a complete face shot of every single record as you're flipping through it. That's always been something I've liked. Maybe even a little more so than just kind of, you know, seeing the spines from the side and having to kind of peek around a little bit if you're trying to, you know, see the front of something or whatever. But anyway, pretty much for the most part, everything is on shelves. How do you shop for records? I'm pretty much an opportunistic shopper when it comes to buying records. I mean, for those of us, which is pretty much all of us, that buy used records, as we know, there's no truck that comes in every Wednesday with a new stack of used records. So you can't really predict shopping for used records the way you can buying just about anything else. So with that, kind of keeping that in mind, what I tend to do is I'm just very opportunistic. I'm just always popping into the same stores over and over and not spending 20, 30, 40 minutes digging through everything, but just kind of going in really quick. Is there anything new? Okay, there isn't. I'll see you tomorrow. See you the day after tomorrow. So that's kind of my method of shopping, which is why with the two local stores, I was pretty cool with both of the managers, and one thing that I really started to stress to them was, God, you guys really need to have a just-in section, a place where you keep the records that have come in this week. So those of us that are always looking for new stuff, we don't have to come in and dig through your entire collection, which we don't have time to do every day, just to see if you might have put one new thing in there. We can come in, hit the just-in section. If there's a bunch of new stuff, we can buy it quick and get out. But if not, we'll just come back tomorrow or the day after. And it's really cool because both of the managers I spoke with, they actually did that in their local stores here. And now it really is awesome because I could pop in there almost every day, if not every other day, and just bust through their just-in section. Nothing new, great, a bunch of new stuff. I can buy a lot more records in a shorter period of time. So I really like when stores do that. But other than that, that's really how I shop. I'm just kind of always on the lookout, just always checking out every opportunity. And of course with eBay and new stuff, actually being able to order it through stores now and everything else, I utilize that as well. The last question, how do you open your records? Which is kind of an interesting question. I don't think anyone's ever asked that before. I know we've had a few, and I've probably seen the most not hostile, but the most opinionated responses to kind of that question that I have with any other questions we've asked in the vinyl community when we talk about sleeves and how we store records and everything else. There seem to have been more stronger opinions with that than anything, which was kind of interesting. But with my records, as far as how I open them, this is what I use to open my records, this exact knife right here. And I use that because I started doing that about 1.5 years to 2 years ago. It has a very sharp tip at the end, but it's also kind of a much thicker blade knife. So the one thing that happened to me once early on, when I was kind of using a little pocket knife or razor knife, or just kind of whatever I can get my hands on at the time, is one time I cut the top of one of the inserts, kind of put a little split in it. And so that happened, like I said, about maybe 2 years ago or something of that nature. So what I started doing with this particular knife is it's real sharp at the end, so I can poke the top on the corner and get it in there. Then I can always insert it about 3 or 4 inches into the record, and then I come down and open the edge of the plastic. That way I make sure that I'm down past the insert so I don't cut it or mess up the edges, and the knife is so thick too that it doesn't catch the insert where I actually go into it and end up slitting the insert down the side either. So again, it's just something that worked about 2 years ago and it worked really well, so I kept that knife by the side of my desk, and that's just what I use now, so that's how I open it. Interestingly enough, I was at a store one time and I was going to buy, it was a Coltrane record actually, and the plastic was on it so tight that it was kind of, waving a little bit. And I told the guy, I was like, well, if I buy the record and it's warped, will you guys return it? And he's like, yeah, of course, we'll take it back with no problem. I said, okay, well, instead of me wasting the time to take this home and open and see if it's warped, let's just open it right now, because if it's not warped, I'm guaranteed I will buy it. I'm not going to put it back on the shelf. So he was like, okay, cool. And so what he did was he took the record and rubbed it back and forth across his jeans like this. He wasn't jabbing it down or anything. It was just skipping across. Then he turned to the side and it was totally open. And I've never seen anybody open one like that before. But so that was kind of just something new that I hadn't seen. Just like I said, rubbed it across his jeans a few times and it opened the edge right up. But I used, like I said, the blades to kind of go a few inches down to make sure I protect the insert and then just kind of come across. I am also someone who I believe in leaving the plastic on the records, even though I put plastic sleeves on them. I don't know, I just think the more protection the better, even though I've heard some people have said, you know, in the long run that can hurt your records and blah, 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 you know, I don't know, but I prefer to leave my shrink wrap on. And I think one of the reasons I do that too is I even find myself now that when I'm buying records, like I buy used stuff off of eBay, and in the description they have, you know, near mint condition, you know, blah, 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 still in shrink. That actually takes my confidence up about the record still being in shrink wrap. So there's a, you know, when I'm buying records, there's an extra value that comes to me by knowing it's still in shrink wrap. So with that being said, when I buy new stuff, it makes me think, well, I might as well keep it in the shrink wrap because I know down the line it's actually something I value in the condition of a record. So I keep it in shrink, and I do put every single one of my records in plastic sleeves. I know you guys have heard me say that a million times, but I don't care if I pay 25 cents for a record or if I pay $50 for a record. Every single one goes in the exact same plastic sleeve. I don't discriminate whatsoever with the value of a record in terms of how it's protected. Because again, every record I buy, I plan on keeping for decades, so I'm going to protect it like I'm keeping it for decades. But anyway, that's my first video response from the new setup. So I hope it comes out well. I'm not sure how to work volumes and everything yet with music in the background and all that good stuff. But I haven't gotten a lot of new stuff in the past couple weeks with the move and everything. My time and money has all been going into that. But I think maybe later today or tomorrow I'm going to do a couple of videos, just kind of some artist collections, just to, you know, kind of be able to interact with you guys again. It's great being back. And I really, really appreciate all the comments and the support with the move and everything. I mean, you guys were kind of cheering me on the entire time, and Lord knows I needed it because it got kind of tough. And I apologize, I haven't had a chance to really get back to responding to everything, but it's like there's so many of you with so many positive things to say, it's hard to get back to everyone. But I just want to take this time to say thank you to everyone for your comments and the support through the move and everything, and I really appreciate it, and it's good to be back with you guys. So take care, YouTubers, and I will talk to you soon. All right.